First contact with the impossible. The research vessel Eternal Light hung in high orbit around the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star, its sensors gathering data that made absolutely no sense. Chief researcher Zix 427 reviewed the readings for the 14th time, her crystalline form vibrating with agitation. "This cannot be correct," she announced to her research team. "The gravitational forces alone should make complex life impossible. Add in the atmospheric composition, temperature variations, and geological instability." Her second-in-command, Ven 891, projected a holographic display of their findings. "The readings are accurate, Chief. This planet experiences regular geological upheavals, extreme weather patterns, and contains multiple apex predators. By all our classifications, it's a Category 5 death world. Yet it hosts a spacefaring civilization," Zix 427 finished. Impossible. The images floating before them showed sprawling cities, transport networks, and even primitive space stations. More incredibly, these structures existed despite regular natural disasters that would have wiped out most known civilizations. "The dominant species calls themselves humans," Ven 891 continued. "They evolved on this planet, which they named Earth. Our preliminary studies suggest they don't even realize how extraordinary their world is." Zix 427 focused her sensors on a particular image, a human settlement rebuilt after what their records called a tornado. Instead of abandoning the location, they had simply constructed stronger buildings. "They adapt," she mused, "not just biologically, but technologically and socially." The research team watched in fascination as their probes revealed more about these remarkable creatures. Humans lived in environments ranging from frozen wastelands to scorching deserts. They thrived in places where the air was so thin it would kill most species, and in valleys so deep they should have been crushed by atmospheric pressure. "Look at this," another researcher, Ta 656, called out. "They regularly engage in activities that risk their lives for recreation." The display showed humans jumping from great heights with thin fabric devices, diving into ocean depths, and climbing sheer rock faces. "Their bodies shouldn't be capable of surviving half of what they do," Ven 891 noted. "Their bones are internal, their skin is remarkably fragile, and they lack any significant natural armor or weapons." And yet, Zix 427 observed, they've become the dominant species on a planet that should have killed them millions of years ago. The question is, how? The answer began to emerge as they studied human physiology more closely. Unlike most species that evolved to fill a specific niche, humans had developed as generalists. They could regulate their body temperature, heal from significant injuries, and most remarkably, they could learn to survive in almost any environment. "They're not specialized for their death world," Zix 427 realized with growing excitement. "They're specialized for adapting to it. Every challenge their planet presents, they find a way to overcome it." The implications were staggering. Most spacefaring races had evolved on worlds far more hospitable than Earth. They had developed technology to protect themselves from harsh environments. But humans had developed technology because they already knew how to survive in harsh environments. As the Eternal Light continued its observations, Zix 427 made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. "Prepare a first contact protocol," she ordered, "but not the standard one. We need to approach them carefully." "Are you sure that's wise?" Ven 891 asked. "They're clearly dangerous." "They're dangerous because they had to be," Zix 427 responded. "But look at their history. Despite evolving on a death world, they've developed art, music, philosophy. They're not just survivors. They're builders, creators, dreamers. And I believe they might be exactly what our galaxy needs." The decision was made. As the Eternal Light's communication systems powered up, none of its crew could have predicted how this first contact would reshape their understanding of life itself. They were about to meet a species that didn't just survive the impossible, they made it look easy. The Human Paradox. The first official meeting between the Eternal Light's crew and Earth's representatives took place in a location that perfectly exemplified humanity's peculiar nature. A research station perched on the slope of an active volcano in Hawaii. While the alien delegation required extensive protective equipment just to exit their shuttle, the human scientists worked in nothing more than light protective clothing. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's chief xenobiologist, greeted the alien delegation with what they would learn was characteristic human enthusiasm. "Welcome to Kilauea Observatory," she said, seemingly unconcerned by the occasional tremor beneath their feet. "We thought this would be an ideal location to demonstrate some of what makes Earth unique." Zix 427 adjusted her protective field as another tremor rippled through the facility. "You built a scientific installation on an active volcanic site," she stated, her crystalline form vibrating with a mixture of horror and fascination. "Of course," Dr. Chen replied with a smile. "We're better to study volcanic activity. Besides, the geothermal energy helps power our facilities." The alien researchers exchanged glances through their protective suits. This was exactly the kind of behavior that made humans so fascinating and terrifying. They didn't just survive in dangerous conditions, they actively sought them out for study and exploitation. As the tour continued, Ven 891 recorded everything with growing amazement. The humans had built their facility to move with the geological shifts rather than resist them. They had warning systems for volcanic activity that they seemed to regard with the same casualness as weather reports. Most incredibly, they had developed ways to harness the very forces that should have destroyed them. "But how do you handle the psychological stress?" Ta 656 asked during a presentation. "Living constantly under threat of destruction." Dr. Chen looked genuinely puzzled. "Threat? Oh, you mean the volcano. We don't really think of it that way. It's just nature. Something to understand and work with, not fight against." This perspective rocked the alien researchers to their core. Every spacefaring race they knew had achieved civilization by creating safe, controlled environments. Humans had done the opposite. They had learned to thrive in the chaos. The tour continued to other locations around the globe. The alien delegation witnessed humans living in the freezing Antarctic, in the depths of the Amazon rainforest, in the scorching Sahara Desert. Each environment seemed more impossible than the last, yet in each place, humans had not just survived but built communities. "Look at this," Ven 891 said during a private conference with Zix 427. "Their bodies actually become stronger when stressed. Physical exercise, which damages their muscle tissue, causes it to rebuild stronger. Even their bones increase in density when subjected to regular stress. Their learning capacity is equally remarkable," Ta 656 added. "While most species specialize in specific environments, humans can learn to survive almost anywhere. They call it adaptation, but it's unlike anything we've seen before." Zix 427 was starting to understand something profound about humanity. "They don't just adapt to their environment," she said slowly. "They adapt their environment to themselves, and then they adapt themselves to do better in the environment they've created. It's a continuous cycle of improvement." The implications were staggering. Most species reached an evolutionary plateau once they achieved space travel. Humans showed no signs of stopping. Every challenge they faced became an opportunity for growth. But it was during a seemingly casual conversation with Dr. Chen that Zix 427 discovered perhaps the most remarkable thing about humans. "Aren't you ever afraid?" she asked the scientist. "Of course," Chen replied. "Fear is natural. But humans, we've learned that being afraid of something and doing it anyway is often more rewarding than avoiding it altogether. We call it courage." This concept, choosing to face fear rather than avoid it, was revolutionary to the alien researchers. It explained so much about human behavior. Their exploration of space, despite its dangers, their constant push into new territories, their ability to face potential extinction-level events with determination rather than despair. As the second phase of their research concluded, ZX-427 sent a report to the Galactic Council that would soon prove prophetic. Humanity's greatest strength isn't their ability to survive on a death world. It's their ability to learn from it, to grow stronger because of it, and most importantly, to never stop pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Crisis and revelation. The crisis began with a discovery that shook the Galactic Council to its foundations. The Void Swarm, a phenomenon that had destroyed countless civilizations in the ancient past, had awakened again. These microscopic machines, relics of some long-dead civilization, consumed all organized matter they encountered, breaking down entire planets into their component elements. In the Council's emergency session, ZX-427 watched the holographic displays with growing concern. The swarm had already devoured 3 uninhabited systems and was moving faster than any previous records indicated. Traditional defenses, energy shields, physical barriers, even atomic disruption fields had proven useless. The swarm adapts too quickly, the Council's chief strategist announced. Every weapon we use, every defense we create, it learns to counter within hours. That was when ZX-427 had her epiphany. Then we need something that adapts faster, she said, her crystalline form pulsing with excitement. We need humans. The Council chamber erupted in chaos. The Deathworlders. Those primitives. They barely have interplanetary travel. But ZX-427 persisted. Think about it, she urged. Humans evolved on a planet that tries to kill them daily. Their entire history is one of overcoming impossible challenges. They don't just adapt, they innovate. After much debate, the Council agreed to at least present the problem to Earth's representatives. The meeting took place aboard the Eternal Light, with Dr. Chen leading the human delegation. As the Council explained the Void Swarm situation, something remarkable happened. Instead of showing fear or despair, the humans became excited. They asked questions about the swarm's behavior, its composition, its weaknesses, not from a position of defeat, but with the air of people confronting an interesting puzzle. Let me get this straight, Dr. Chen said, leaning forward. These machines adapt to any weapon used against them, and they consume everything in their path. Correct. The Council chief confirmed grimly. To everyone's surprise, Dr. Chen smiled. Then we don't fight them. We overwhelm them. The human team quickly explained their concept. On Earth, they had dealt with similar challenges on a smaller scale. Viruses that mutated rapidly, invasive species that devastated ecosystems. Their solution wasn't to find a perfect weapon, but to attack the problem from so many angles simultaneously that the threat couldn't adapt fast enough. It's like our immune systems, Dr. Chen explained. We don't just produce one type of antibody. We create millions of variations, overwhelming the pathogen's ability to adapt. The concept was radical, but it made sense. The humans proposed a multi-pronged approach: physical weapons, electromagnetic disruption, biological agents, and even modified versions of the swarm's own programming, all deployed simultaneously. The key, Dr. Chen emphasized, is controlled chaos. That's what humans do best. We've spent our entire history dealing with a planet that throws everything at us at once. Now it's our turn to do the throwing. As the human team worked with the galaxy's best scientists to implement their plan, ZX-427 made another fascinating observation. While other species approached the problem with rigid methodical processes, humans seemed to thrive on improvisation. They made mistakes, learned from them, and adapted their strategies in real time. It's not just about having the right solution, she noted in her research log. It's about having the confidence to try solutions that might fail, and the resilience to keep trying until something works. The humans' approach was messy, unpredictable, and completely contrary to how most advanced civilizations operated. It was also, increasingly, looking like their only hope. Warriors of the Deathworld. The battle against the Void Swarm became a testament to humanity's unique approach to impossible challenges. While the Galactic Council's forces provided the backbone of the defense, massive ships, advanced energy weapons, and sophisticated shield systems, it was the human element that made the difference. Command Center Alpha, hastily constructed at the edge of threatened space, buzzed with activity. Dr. Chen and her team had been joined by specialists from every field imaginable. Military strategists, chaos theorists, biotechnology experts, even experts in Earth's most extreme environments. The swarm adapts through a form of mechanical evolution, Dr. Chen explained to the combined forces. But we evolved on a planet that never stops trying to kill us. We're about to show them what real adaptation looks like. The human strategy unfolded in waves. First came the conventional attacks, but with a twist. Instead of using sophisticated energy weapons, they deployed thousands of different types of simple projectiles, each with slightly different properties. The swarm could adapt to any single attack, but dealing with thousands of variations simultaneously taxed its adaptation mechanisms. Next came the biological component, using their experience with Earth's extremophiles, organisms that survived in the most hostile environments. Human scientists had developed an array of synthetic organisms that could survive in space and interact with the swarm's physical structure. It's like introducing an invasive species, explained Dr. James Martinez, a terrestrial ecologist. Except we're introducing thousands of them at once. The third wave was pure human ingenuity. They had noticed that the swarm, for all its adaptive capability, followed certain basic protocols, so they gave it too many things to adapt to at once. Electromagnetic pulses of varying frequencies, radiation across the spectrum, even modified versions of its own code. Think of it like an immune system overload, Dr. Chen told the council. Even the most adaptive system has limits. We're going to find those limits. The battle was chaotic, messy, and at times seemed on the verge of failure. But that, too, was part of the human way. They expected setbacks, planned for failures, and always had backup plans for their backup plans. Most remarkably, they treated the entire operation like a scientific experiment. Every failure provided data. Every partial success suggested new approaches. They adapted their strategies in real time, something the more structured military forces of the Council found both fascinating and frightening. Humans don't just survive chaos, Zix 427 noted in her observations. They'd weaponize it. The turning point came when the swarm encountered a particular combination of attacks, a mixture of physical disruption, biological interference, and corrupted code that overwhelmed its ability to adapt. The massive cloud of destructive machines began to break down, its coordinated patterns dissolving into harmless scattered particles. As the threat subsided, the Galactic Council found itself facing a new reality. The species they had discovered living on a death world hadn't just saved them. They had demonstrated a completely new way of approaching problems. You know, Dr. Chen said to Zix 427 as they watched the cleanup operations, most of what we used against the swarm came from dealing with Earth's challenges. Our planet taught us that sometimes the best way to survive is to embrace chaos rather than try to control it. Evolution's champions. In the aftermath of the Void Swarm crisis, humanity's position in the galaxy underwent a dramatic shift. What had begun as a curiosity, a species that somehow survived on a death world, had become something far more significant. Humans were now recognized as evolution's masterclass in adaptation and survival. The Galactic Council, in an unprecedented move, established Earth as the center for a new initiative, the Adaptive Defense Academy. Here, species from across the galaxy would learn from humanity's unique perspective on survival and innovation. It's ironic, Dr. Chen remarked during the Academy's opening ceremony. Everything that made Earth a death world. The geological instability, the extreme weather, the biological arms race actually prepared us for the challenges of space. The Academy's first classes were eye-opening for both teachers and students. Alien species learned human approaches to problem-solving, while humans gained new perspectives on their own capabilities. Zix 427, now serving as the Academy's chief science officer, observed how the integration of different species' knowledge created something entirely new. The humans' Deathworld survival skills, combined with advanced alien technology, led to innovations nobody had thought possible. What we once saw as primitive survival instincts, she noted in her final research paper, were actually sophisticated adaptation mechanisms. Humans don't just survive, they reimagine what survival means. The evidence was everywhere. Human architects worked with alien engineers to design cities that could withstand any natural disaster. Human medical researchers collaborated with alien biologists to develop treatments that adapted as quickly as diseases did. Even human cooking, with its emphasis on combining seemingly incompatible flavors and techniques, influenced how other species approached problem-solving. But perhaps the most profound change was in how the galaxy viewed adversity. Before humanity, most species saw harsh conditions as something to be avoided or eliminated. Humans had shown that challenges could be opportunities for growth. Each species in the galaxy evolved to survive their home world. Dr. Chen explained during a galactic symposium, "We evolved to survive any world. That's not just our strength, it's our gift to the galaxy." As years passed, the term Deathworld fell out of use. Earth was now known as the Crucible, the planet that had forged humanity into something unique in the galaxy. Its harsh conditions weren't bugs in the system. They were features that had created a species capable of facing any challenge. The final proof came 50 years after first contact, when a new threat emerged from deep space. This time, the galaxy didn't panic. Instead, billions of beings across thousands of worlds asked themselves a simple question: what would humans do? And somewhere on Earth, in a research station perched on an active volcano, a new generation of scientists, human and alien alike, were already working on the answer. The end.